Hi, I'm Michael Rutherford, and I'm an exercise physiologist and have over 20 years of experience training multiple athletes in various sports. I've worked with youth athletes, high school, collegiate, Olympic, and international competitors. Today we're going to talk about how to get stronger and how to get bigger, how to gain 5 pounds of mass this week. Now, I've spent 20 years working with youth, high school, collegiate, Olympic, and international competitors, and a lot of those individuals are looking for ways to gain mass, to gain strength. And we're going to talk to you about that today and tell you exactly how to get it done. First requirement is progressive resistance training. And what do I mean by progressive resistance training? That means we're going to use the old school barbell set to train with. The next part of this process is the proper dietary support. That includes water. There's a lot of junk out there that you pour down into your stomach, but water is going to be very important. And finally, we're going to talk to you about adequate rest. The bigger progressive resistance training routine is going to focus on those free weights. Free weights hold several advantages. First of all, they're readily available. You can get them almost anywhere, and they're very inexpensive. Around 3 cents a pound, including the bar and the collars, which is dirt cheap. They're relatively safe when used with your head, using them with your head and concentrating on what you're doing, and they'll allow the athlete to work in space, forcing stabilization and multiple recruitment patterns on these complex movements. Okay, the elements of the bigger program, we talked about that. Resistance training, 3 days per week. That's all we're going to ask you to do. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Then, we don't want those sessions to exceed 60 minutes. If we go over 60 minutes with our training, then we're going to activate the stress response, and actually we're going to impede muscular development, mass, and adding mass to the body. We're going to follow a single progression program. That's 3 sets of 10 repetitions each. And we want to use a moderate rest interval. Well, what do I mean by moderate? We don't want you talking and walking around and socializing in the gym. We want to keep it to about 90 seconds between sets and exercises. So we got a pretty stiff pace that we're going to maintain. We're going to focus on the following core exercises. The back squat. This is a cornerstone exercise to any mass building program. If you can't learn or teach yourself to back squat, you're going to have trouble gaining that mass. We're going to also use the deadlift. The deadlift is an alternative movement to the back squat. It'll give us a slightly different stimulus and actually help us accelerate our gain. We're going to focus on the bench press, the upper body squat. Everybody wants to know how much you're going to bench press. We're going to have that in our program to gain mass. We're going to also utilize the upper body barbell row, which is a basic exercise that focuses on the back musculature to give you that V shape that everybody's looking for. And finally, we're going to conclude with the standing press. The standing press is a classic exercise, builds extreme power in the shoulder girdle, and by standing on our feet, we're going to force the core musculature to be activated. All right, let's talk about the nutrition program. We want to eat real food. What am I talking about here? Meat, that's red meat, fish, and chicken, and eggs. We want to include those with every meal. We also want to include dairy. That's cheese, milk, yogurt, and those products from that family. Finally, we want to make sure that we have adequate amount of vegetables and fruit. That's anything that's green. I talk about Roy green. That's red, orange, yellow, and green in the vegetable family. And finally, fruits. Bananas, oranges, apples, grapes, you name it. If it's in the fruit and salad bar, you should eat it. And finally, plenty of water. Plenty of water. Okay, I talked about protein with every meal. Very important. You want to have at least a serving with every meal, and a serving is whatever you can fit in your hand. We want to eat 5 or 6 meals per day. This should include 3 regular meals, that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and 2 major snacks. 2 major snacks. A major snack could be fruit with yogurt. Okay? It could be an additional sandwich that you make with meat and cheese. It could be a large serving of milk, a big glass of milk, with a peanut butter sandwich. We want to make sure that we have major snacks. If you want to gain mass, you got to put the fuel in the tank. Well, let's talk about milk. Classic strongmen from our past have built tremendous size by consuming an abundance of milk. And it sounds crazy, but I want you to work towards consuming 1 gallon of milk each and every day. Don't start out drinking a gallon of milk, but work towards drinking a gallon of milk over the first 4 weeks. To begin with, you need to drink milk with every meal. Let's talk about another beverage that's really important today. Water. Now, if you're someone who drinks soda pop, you've got to cut that out of your life. Drinking water is one of the most valuable things that you can do for your health and to gain mass. We want to drink in the neighborhood of 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight each and every day. And you're going to need to use a strategy to accomplish this. You need to drink water first thing in the morning when you get up. You're going to need to drink it between meals. And you're going to make sure you drink plenty of it during exercise. Very important. You're going to need to keep record of how much you weigh and how much you're eating. And you can do this by journaling. You don't need a fancy journal. You can get a $2 notebook, spiral notebook, and keep all this information in front of you. Don't kid yourself. I've seen more athletes fail at gaining mass because they think they're eating, they think they're training, but there's no support, there's no document to prove that. We want to make sure that we avoid man-made or processed foods. Fried foods need to be eliminated, and I've already mentioned how nasty soft drinks and soda pop are. They're full of sugar and they'll make you fat and slow. Every year, Americans consume 365 sodas per year. That's 12 teaspoons of sugar in each soda drink. Finally, sleep. This is the stage where your muscles grow. First, you stimulate the muscles through training, which we're going to talk about here shortly. Then you put in the proper nutrition with the real food diet. And finally, you need to sleep. You need to sleep a minimum of 8 hours each evening. Any variation in your sleep pattern will short circuit your recovery and will limit your gains. You need to learn to go to bed at the same time and get up each morning at the same time. Is this going to cut into your social life? Likely, but you need to pay the price if you want to make the gains. You want to make sure you limit your caffeine and your alcohol before you go to bed. These will disrupt your sleep physiology and interrupt that recovery process. Make sure you eliminate interruptions at night, such as telephones, cell phones, pagers, stereos, televisions, roommates, you name it, anything that you know of that can interrupt your recovery, interrupt your sleep. Make your sleep environment dark and cool. Get some additional window covering if necessary. Make the investment. Make the investment. Wash your bedding every week. Nobody wants to bed down in a smelly bed. Make your bed a comfortable place to go to at the end of the day. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to focus on the core exercises that we're going to do to become stronger and to gain mass, to become bigger. But first we want to warm up the body a little bit before we start tossing this iron around. So I want to give you a few options here. First option, and something you can alternate these or rotate these around, is just to get a simple jump rope. Jump rope is a great warm-up exercise. It can be the exercise activity itself. Working initially just to get a minute of continuous jumping will be a significant challenge for most people. So I know that you can get those at TidalBoxing.com, and they have a variety of ropes to work with. I like the leather ropes, and it's a really, really nice thing to have with you at all times. And then you can also utilize some of these body weight exercises that I'm going to demonstrate right now for you. One of my favorite stretches, and I learned from my friends at CrossFit, they call it the Samson stretch, where we're going to interlace the fingers and extend the arms above the head, taking a lunge step out with the thigh parallel to the floor, and then we're just going to hold it in this position. They work towards 30 seconds of continuous holds. You can work the back leg, the trail leg, move it backwards. You'll feel the stretch in the front of the hip and the hip flexors. And then we just hold that for a period of time. Come back to the start and alternate legs and switch legs. You can do this in a dynamic fashion as well. If you purchase some of the other tapes, you'll notice that we use this as part of our dynamic warm-up in the speed video, the Go Faster video. Okay, that's the first option right there. I really like that stretch to start out with. We'll then move to another stretch. These are called overhead squats or snatch grip squats. We take these from Olympic lifting, and it's a great exercise to warm up the lower extremity, again providing stretch in the upper body. I'm just using a simple broom handle right here. You can get an expensive dowel, but just get into your broom closet and take one of those handles out. And we're just going to keep the arms extended. The arms are in a bone-to-bone contact. You can see that by the way I'm holding this stick, if it was a weight, that I would be able to support this. If the bar gets too far forward, I'll lose it if it was loaded, or if it's too far back, I would lose it. So we want to keep it straight over the head. And then I'm just going to sit down in the hole, keeping my heels on the ground. And I can sit there and then do repetitions. I like to do anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions of snatch squats or overhead squats. This will also tell you a lot about your relative flexibility. You'll see a lot of times athletes come down and their heels come off the ground. Really a great athletic movement to just do snatch squats right here. We'll move then to just standard push-ups. Hands will be slightly wider than the shoulders, toes on the ground, and we're going to lower our chest to the ground and repeat. Eyes are in front of the fingertips, keeping the core in a straight line. We want to avoid having the big rear end stick up in the air or letting the hips dip. That's a flaw in your push-up technique. You want it to be in a nice straight line from your shoulder to your ankle. Okay, there's some push-ups for us. A very important exercise and a good alternative exercise as well. I then like to do a few sit-ups, 5 to 10 sit-ups. Knees are bent, using no momentum to raise up. Hands are on the ears. If you're having difficulty with your sit-ups, you can reach behind the legs, use your hands to help bring you up. Your next progression would then be hands on the chest to sit up. And then finally, hands on the ears. An extreme sit up, hands over the head to increase the difficulty. That'll be a nice little warm-up series. Repeat that 3 to 5 times. Sometimes in the winter, when it's cooler out or the gym that you're training in is colder, make sure that you have longer sleeves on, pants, and you can keep your core temperature up by wearing a stocking hat or a beanie. Okay, we'll move now to those core exercises. We've warmed up. We've got our water right there with us. Remember, because we want to have plenty of water throughout the day. Want to make sure that our gym environment is clean and that our equipment is safe. Over here for today's demonstrations, have a really simple setup. I talked about the inexpensive barbell setup. We'll talk a little bit about it. This is an ultralight setup right here. And we have a really nice bar with rotating collars right here. You can see I have some bumper plates on here today. You don't necessarily need bumper plates for it, with your setup. And I have some spring-loaded collars that I'm using as well. These function really well. They're easy to get on and off. Your set that you'll get will have several different weights that you'll load on the bar, from 45 down to 2.5. That's a standard 300-pound set. That's plenty to start with. You can go back into any store across the United States or wherever you live and purchase additional weight for your setup. All right, so that's the bar that we're going to start with right here. Now, you want to try to get squat standards to perform your back squats, or the gym that you go to. You want to look for a gym with a squat rack or an area to squat in. Sometimes you'll go to a gym and they'll use Smith machines. It was a great idea on paper. I'm not a big fan of the Smith machine because your body does not move in a straight line with the Smith machine. Forces your body to move in a straight line. Your body moves in a parabolic path on squatting and also on benching. So it's okay to learn some things, but I wouldn't live in a Smith machine. I would look for a squat rack, squat standards with some safeties, with some areas to catch the bar should something not be just right that day. So today I'm going to look really strong on some of these exercises, but again, this is a bar that's lightly loaded. I would encourage you to also start with a bar that's lighter than you can handle initially as you're learning the exercises. All right, so we will progress right now to the squat, but a couple of things to talk about here on the squat. First thing, I mentioned the importance of that exercise, the cornerstone. You cannot gain mass or strength, total body strength, without working the back squat. There are squat variations off of it, but before you get anywhere else in the world, you need to learn how to back squat. Your goal is to be able to back squat 2 times your body weight in 1 year. That should be your goal. So if you have to start out with this stick to back squat, that's just fine. But ultimately, in 12 months, your target is to squat 1 time your body weight, twice your body weight. All right, so I'm going to turn sideways to the camera here so I can talk a little bit about back position. When we squat, we want to make sure that our chest is spread and forward and that our back stays flat. Okay? A flat back is really critical to the safety and proper execution. The width on your stance is going to vary. You'll see power lifters with a really wide squat. I'm not a big fan of squatting in this wide a position. You don't do anything in life with this wide a stance except power squat. Very, very few sports do you have your feet this spread. I prefer a more normal stance, which is about shoulder width. If you jump up in the air, you'll land on the ground and your feet will toe out or in or stay straight, based upon your own biomechanics. So I like people just to kind of jump up, look down, and see how their feet are spaced. That's a good way to start. We want to keep the weight in our heels, our chest up, and we're going to then lower and sit into a chair. It's really important that you learn what that feels like to lower and sit in a chair. This is what it looks like from the side. You can see my back is straight, my knees are bent at least at 90 degrees. I'm sitting down pretty low right now, but my eyes are up, my chest is spread, and my back is flat. And then from here, I'm going to drive out of the heels, out of the feet, pushing my feet through the floor. That's my cue. And return to the standing position. So I'm going to back squat this bar right now. And it's light for demonstration purposes. I've got my feet shoulder width apart, and my eyes are going to stay forward. When I grab the bar, I'm going to grab just outside of my shoulders. Now, if you're using squat racks, I've seen guys with their arms out here. I've seen guys with their arms in here. When you return to the squat rack, you may lose a fingernail if your hands are too wide. So I start out teaching everyone to reach just outside. This locks in the shoulder girdle, keeps your chest high. If your hands are in here, you're more likely to come forward. This forces your shoulders back, keeping that chest high so that back stays flat. And where the bar is riding right now on my back, that will become an issue for many of you. You don't want to have the bar too low. This is a low back squat. I'm talking about a high back squat. I like the bar up in a natural groove, and you'll find it. If it's up too high, you'll be on one of your cervical vertebrae, and you'll know it real quick. So find that natural groove. It'll take you a little bit of practice, and you'll get there. Okay, from here then, we're going to just lower down, keeping that chest up. Sit down in that chair. You can see that I'm very comfortable sitting right here. Some people are not very comfortable in this position, and then we're going to return to the start. And when I'm doing these repetitions, I'm taking a breath in. I'll hold it slight as I exhale on the return. Do not hold your breath the entire time. Inhale, exhale. Big breath in, down, exhale. That is a squat right there. There's some other resources you can study it more in depth, but that is the essence or the basic elements of back squatting. And that is a very, very powerful exercise. We're going to do 3 sets of 10 repetitions. After we do 10 repetitions, which I just performed repetitions for you a moment ago, we're going to rest for 90 seconds. So you go back to the squat rack and you put it in there, and you get on your wristwatch, or you look at the clock in the gym that you're working in. You got to have a watch with a second hand on it. All right. Back squats, very potent. Okay, the next thing we're going to move to is the upper body squat, which is the bench press. But I'm going to stop myself right now because I want you to alternate that back squat with another exercise. And that's the deadlift. And the deadlift is a variation off the back squat. For our training purposes, we're going to alternate back squat with deadlift. Okay? Back squat one day on Monday, deadlift on Wednesday, and then back squat again. When we get to the next week, deadlift on Monday, back squat on Wednesday, deadlift on Friday. Okay, the deadlift has a lot of similar characteristics to the back squat in that we want to have a flat back, a flared chest, and sit down in a chair before we start to pull. Okay? So I'm going to come to this bar right here. And for this demonstration, I don't need to lift the bar because I'm going to lift the bar off the ground. And I'm going to teach you a power clean deadlift style. There's variations on the deadlift. You'll see a big sumo style deadlift with a crossed grip and all these different variations. And those guys are extremely strong, don't get me wrong. But for our purposes, again, I want to have the shoulder width slightly toed out for me. You don't want to have your feet right next to each other. And you want to crowd the bar with your shins. Crowd the bar with your shins and then weight in the heels. Squat down and reach just outside of your legs. Okay? Reach just outside of your legs. Check your grip. Make sure that it's evenly spaced. You've got the knurling and then you have a smooth part. And I like to have 1 thumb spacing from the smooth. And keeping my head up and my chest up, I'm going to press my feet through the floor and stand up. Notice how my chest stayed up and my back stayed flat. Push your feet through the floor and stand up. Eyes are up, looking slightly up at all times. We do not want to start by extending our leg and letting our back go. We want to press, extending the knees, and lowering. Now, I used to climb mountains, and most mountaineering accidents occur on the descent after the summit has been reached. I've seen weight room accidents on exercises where the athlete had finished their last repetition. Whew, boy, that feels good. Forgot what they were doing, leaned forward, lost their position, lost their posture, and strained their back. Do not relax until the weight is on the ground and you're counting your rest interval. Again, breathing would be inhale, exhale, down and inhale, exhale as you press the weight away from the floor. If you're not sure you're breathing, it's a good idea initially to count your repetitions as a way of maintaining a breathing pattern. So, alternating those back squats with deadlifts. Okay, every other day, just rotating A and B, A, B, A, B, and alternate that way. I need to get my bench press in here so we can start. The upper body squat, which is the bench press. Now, usually I don't have any trouble motivating athletes to bench press, but I want to talk about a few of the finer points. I'm not using a bench with standards today. Most of the bench presses that you'll use will have bench press standards on them that the bar will actually rest in, where you can load the bar inside of the rack. You want to make sure that the bench is stable and it is properly anchored to the steel. Usually they're made out of some high gauge steel and welded most of the time. If you're not sure, you go into a gym you're not familiar with, check out the equipment. Make sure it's stable. Check out their bars. Make sure they're stable. Make sure they're safe. Make sure they're collared. Always use collars when you load a bar, especially on the bench press. And I could show you why here in just a moment. Okay, so when I get down on this bench, I'm going to put my feet flat on the ground. I'm going to sit at the end of the bench right here. I'm going to lie down on the bench, and I'm going to find on this bench, I haven't been on this bench yet, a place for my head to rest comfortably. Everything, my hips, my glutes, my back, everything is in contact with the bench right now. Okay, now I'm going to pick this up because it's a demonstrating bar. I'm going to reach 1 thumb's length from the smooth again, outside of that knurling. Now, again, those power lifters, some very big bench pressers that I know have an extremely wide grip that limits their range of motion and that allows them to lift very heavy loads. For our purposes, I want that in a little bit closer, a little bit wider than your shoulders, and make sure that you're evenly spaced. When you lie down on the bench and you look up at that bar resting in the standards, your eyeball should look straight at the bar. You should be able to be looking straight up at that bar. So as you pick the weight out of the standards, you have a hold of the bar. Now, right now, I have a normal grip or a real grip on the bar. You can see where my thumbs are. Do not use a false grip. I've seen a lot of bench pressers using a false grip, and as a result, they have some dental work that they didn't anticipate. Hold on to the bar. Hold on to the bar. Now that you have the bar, you're going to inhale and you're going to lower the bar down to the middle of your pectoral muscles, about nipple level. Lower the bar. Touch, and then exhale as you press the bar back up and over your eyes. So it's in a slight curved path as it returns back to the starting position. Elbows out to the side. Don't twist, contort your body. If you're having to cheat, if you're pushing up one side and then the other side, if you're all twisting and turning and your feet are dancing around, it's too heavy. Back off. This isn't about how much you can bench press. It's how much you can gain, how much muscle you can put on your body. 10 repetitions, exhaling, and 2 and 3. After you perform a set, stand up, find your clock, 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's the bench press exercise. Very important. 3 sets, 10 repetitions. As soon as you can successfully complete all 3 sets of 10 repetitions each at that load, then you can increase the weight by 5 pounds. Stay at that weight until you can successfully complete those. Initially, you'll make some tremendous improvements. Keep the food going, keep the sleep up. You'll see the gains. Okay, rolling along here. The barbell row, an excellent exercise. I like to use an underhand grip for the barbell row. This is going to work our back. We're going to bend down and reach just outside of our legs again, keeping that flat back. We're going to grip inside here with our eyes up. We're going to stay in this bent position right here. You'll see that my chest is staying up and my rear is back. Look at how flat my back is. We do not want a rounded back. Keep those shoulder blades back, squeezing them together, and pull the weight into your solar plexus region. Upper stomach, lower rib cage, elbows back, rowing into that stomach area. Exhale, inhale, exhale. Control the weight the entire time. Eyes are up as you row. 3 sets, 10 repetitions each. Increase the weight as you're able to successfully complete all the sets in the prescribed amount of time. Okay, one more to go here, and we'll look at some alternatives. Hopefully you'll be in a gym that'll also have some standard racks that you can use, and if not, you'll have if you have the right kind of squat racks, you'll be able to elevate this bar a little bit so it's easy for you to get to. This is a classic exercise and one that's died off in favor of sitting down and making it easier. But this is the standing press. We want to make sure our feet are stable on the ground, about shoulder width. And from here, we're going to simply squeeze the rear end, tighten the abdominal muscles, and press the bar and extend it over our head. Return, and then press. You want to make sure that your midsection stays tight. Squeeze your glutes. A very basic exercise. An excellent mass builder for the upper body. Now, you'll know that you are reaching a fatigue point and that you're cheating and failing when you're severely arching back and trying to finish the exercise with your chest. And now you've turned it into an incline bench press. This is a standing press. Your head moves back slightly, and the bar then comes to the lockout position above your head. You'll see the curved path here. And return. You can finish off the whole deal with some stab holds. I like stab holds a lot. You're on your toes, eyes in front of the fingertips, weights on your forearm. Hold this for a minute. You want to do 3 sets of a minute each. Doesn't look that tough right there, but very powerful. So we'll have bench press. We'll do the back squat. We'll move into the bench press, the barbell row, and the standing press. And we're going to alternate the back squat with the deadlift. Okay, you're on the road a lot. It's hard to get to the gym. Your budget just won't allow it. Does that mean you give up on your goal? Hell no. There's some great alternatives, a very cost-effective way to get your work in. In fact, I know ultimate fighters who do hundreds of squats without barbells, and I want them on my side. So let's look at a couple of alternatives. From Title Boxing and my friends at Lifeline, this is called a portable power jumper. I like this a lot. You can do the body weight squats, the air squats. We've worked on these as a warm-up exercise, and I've shown them to you in the demonstration. Working up to a couple of hundred of those. Or you can really give yourself a kick in the pants by putting on this power jumper right here. And you can see that by wearing this cord, I've created some resistance now as I do those squats. And I gotta tell you, this is one of my favorite tools in the whole world. Right here. So there's the squats. You can keep it right here and move into the standing press. And this band throws in a different type of stimulus. So you could also tease your body by doing a couple of weeks with barbells and then some weeks with the bands. Now the 3 sets of 10 rule changes a little bit when you use bands. You're going to need to increase those repetitions. Go to the point where you can hardly do another repetition and then stop. And that's your ceiling, and that's where you want to work with. You can't bench press because you can't afford a bench. That's Joe Weider's fault. This is the power push-up for my friends at Lifeline and Title Boxing. Another one of my favorite tools. You can get in the push-up position, as I'm going to demonstrate right here, and increase your resistance. But you're going to also create a whole new exercise because your core is going to have to work that midsection, the hips, the abdominals, the spinal erectors, the obliques have to work a whole lot harder just to keep this position. That's enough of that for acting today. So that presents some really nice alternatives. You can also do your rowing exercises. I forget how much fun these are. By anchoring and rowing back in this fashion, one arm at a time. So we want to review progressive resistance, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. A real food diet. Get the junk out of your diet. You got to eat 3 meals a day. 2 major snacks. 2 major snacks. Eat big or go home. Go to bed at night. Go to bed at night. I hope you've enjoyed this demonstration on how to get stronger and bigger. I guarantee you, if you'll follow what I told you, you'll gain 5 pounds this week.
Title Boxing's got you covered with 16 action-packed videos to get you in the best condition of your life. Boxing and conditioning experts Danny Campbell, Michael Rutherford, Jeff Finnick, and Russ Anber put you through the paces to show you everything you need to know to improve your speed, strength, agility, and stamina. How to wrap hands, hitting the heavy bag, medicine ball, obtaining the edge of speed, interval training, punching at angles, advanced techniques, explosive speed and power, mastering the basics, Punchmith secrets, getting bigger and stronger, dynamic speed and thrust, counter punching, working the corner, defensive skills and drills, body punching, and more. Get only the ones you want or get maximum impact with the entire series. Get the secrets of over 80 years of combined boxing and physical training experience in one action-packed video series. Where do you get it? Exclusively at TitleBoxing.com. TitleBoxing.com. If we don't have it, you don't need it.